Hello everyone. So now I'm gonna start with my first character that I want to teach you guys, and without further ado, let's just try to go over the most common characters in either the Chinese, the Korean, Hanja, or the Japanese kanji. Again, these are solely on Chinese character recognitions. I am not going to go over the pronunciation because each dialect and each country has their own rules of dialect, but I will go through the definitions and what they mean and what is the essence of the character, so you understand why some definitions of the Chinese characters have a different definition that you don't really understand as to how the evolution happened. But because of the primitives that I will show you soon, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So let's get started with the most common character in the Chinese language. Again, I am not going to do the pronunciation, but I am going to explain what is this character and what are the things that are most commonly known for. So let's just go through the definition. First, it is a possessive particle, meaning that it makes the object of the noun into something that belongs to them. For example, in English is the most common example of like John's whatever. So it's like noun apostrophe s. This is what that means. It also makes nouns into adjectives. And another definition that is quite interesting is target. Again, now how do they all relate? Well, we're going to go through the steps, and I'm going to show you how in the primitives they use that, and you'll understand the connections. So first thing, the first character that I want to go through is this one. What is the primitive? Not talking about the radical, which is the main component of the character, but the actual primitive. So the ancient writing of the character. So the character actually comes from this one, which in the ancient meaning, not the modern meaning, the ancient is nose. There is a whole history of that, and I will talk about this character later on, and I will explain the whole history of that. But just to make it simple, in the ancient Chinese embryology, the nose was the main component of the body that evolved during the growth of the fetus. The ancient drawing of that character is this one, as you're seeing it right here. That is the ancient picture before it evolved into this, and then eventually became that. Again, during the ages, the Chinese scripture went through many changes, so try to understand that this character means the self. Because the nose was the identification of the self, because that's the first thing that grew, that made a human being into a human being from an embryo. So that is the self, a personal thing. That's why I put the picture of a person breaking through, because, okay, you're seeing now the person, and therefore it's becoming a self. The other side of the character, the other character that I want to explain a little more is this one. So the ancient meaning, the ancient character, or the ancient drawing of this character is as such. So it is actually a primitive kind of spoon. That is what that means. However, I am having a hard time understanding where that looks like this. I'm kind of having a hard time understanding, because this is the primitive spoon. Like, that's the primitive spoons is not that different from the modern spoons that you see nowadays in the Chinese restaurants as when you're serving soup or other dishes that require spoons. However, the character does say that this means the contents. By the way, I'm gonna write down here spoon. But again, I put this other picture right here with the woman because I'm starting to, see maybe where. This is a theory, however. It is not something that I think that it actually is, but, it could be that this is the spoon or the mouth, and this is the spoon with the contents. Therefore, it's going to be eaten. Again, that's a theory, but it makes sense to me. Therefore, I'm going to stick with it, and that's what this character, the part of the character, means. Now, I want to make it clear that, in essence, this is the definition of the character. We're going to put them together. So you have self plus spoon. And again, what does that even mean? But the essence of the character is about directing oneself. Because we said already that it means something that you already have. Something that's yours, meaning the possessive aspect, the adjective, and then a target. So what is the oneself? So it is something that's directed at oneself. That's why I put this as the essence of the character. That's what essentially the character means, directed at oneself. So whenever you see this character, think about these pictures that I posted over here. With the arrow being pointed at the dot, at the target, because that is directed at oneself. It could be you, it could be I, it could be us, etc., etc. So that is how I'm going to remember it. And going back to the first diagram, that's how I'm going to and remember the character. So whenever I see this character again, whether it'll be in Chinese scripture, from the kanji Japanese, or the Korean, they all have that essence of directed at oneself. So that concludes the character of the day. So please subscribe or like the video, and so you can get more updates to coming up. And if you liked it or you have some comments, please leave them down below, and I'll be more than happy to read them and share more. Again, thank you so much, guys, and have a good night.